Las Vegas rises from the desert like a hallucination, a place where money never sleeps, where fortunes are won and lost in seconds, where morality bends under neon lights. It feels eternal, unstoppable. It stands in the middle of a desert where life was never meant to thrive. No rivers, no fertile soil, no natural reason for a city of lights, excess, and temptation to rise from the sand. Yet it does. Millions arrive every year chasing luck, pleasure, and escape, rarely asking who built this place or why. Las Vegas was not created by pioneers or dreamers in the traditional sense. It was shaped by criminals, fueled by illegal money, and protected by violence. Its foundations were poured not with concrete alone, but with blood. At the center of this unlikely origin story was one man. A man both admired and feared. A man whose temper was as famous as his ambition. A man who believed he could outsmart fate itself. His name was Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. And before Las Vegas became a playground for the world, it was his obsession. Benjamin Siegel was born on February 28, 1906, in Brooklyn, New York, to poor Jewish immigrants fleeing persecution in Europe. His family arrived in America chasing safety and opportunity, but found overcrowded tenements, grinding poverty, and relentless discrimination. The Williamsburg neighborhood of Brooklyn was not forgiving. Children grew up fast, or they didn't grow up at all. Street gangs controlled blocks. Police presence was weak. Violence was common. Theft was survival. Respect was everything. From an early age, Siegel learned that fear commanded obedience faster than kindness ever could. By the time he reached adolescence, Benjamin was already known to local merchants, not as a customer, but as a threat. He demanded protection money from pushcart vendors, sometimes wielding a knife, sometimes just his reputation. This was not random cruelty. It was business. It was during these years that Siegel met Meyer Lansky, a small, quiet boy with sharp intelligence and a mind for numbers. Where Siegel was explosive and emotional, Lansky was calculating and disciplined. They formed a partnership that would shape organized crime for decades. Together, they built rackets, they learned logistics, they studied human weakness, and most importantly, they learned how power actually functioned, through leverage, fear, and loyalty. By his late teens, Benjamin Siegel was no longer just a street kid. He was becoming something far more dangerous. The 1920s transformed America, and criminals like Siegel transformed with it. Prohibition outlawed alcohol, but it did not eliminate demand. Instead, it created one of the most profitable black markets in history. Bugsy Siegel thrived. He ran bootlegging operations, hijacked shipments, bribed officials, and enforced territory with extreme violence. His temper became legendary. Associates said Siegel could shift from charm to murder in seconds. This volatility earned him the nickname Bugsy, short for crazy as a bedbug. He despised it, but it stuck. Siegel was recruited into Murder, Inc., the enforcement arm of the National Crime Syndicate. It was here that Siegel crossed the line from gangster to executioner. Killings were efficient, emotionless, strategic. Yet Siegel was different. Unlike many mobsters, he craved status outside the criminal world. He dressed impeccably, studied etiquette, dreamed of legitimacy. He wanted to be respected not just as a criminal, but as a man of importance. This internal contradiction, violence mixed with vanity, defined him, and it would ultimately destroy him. In the mid-1930s, Siegel was sent west to expand mob operations in California. Los Angeles was booming. Hollywood was minting stars. Money flowed freely, and law enforcement was easily compromised. Bugsy fell in love. He befriended actors, producers, and studio executives. He dated actresses, attended glamorous parties. He became a symbol of danger wrapped in charm. But behind the scenes, Siegel ran gambling rings, narcotics routes, and labor rackets. He helped the mob gain control over West Coast unions and ports. Hollywood was a stage. Bugsy was performing. Yet the illusion of legitimacy wasn't enough anymore. Collecting money for New York bosses felt small. Bugsy wanted to build something that would outlive him. That's when the desert began calling. Las Vegas in the 1940s was little more than a dusty railroad town. Gambling was legal, but casinos were crude, designed for locals, not elites. Bugsy saw something no one else did. He imagined a glamorous oasis in the desert, a resort where celebrities flew in, money flowed endlessly, and crime hid behind chandeliers and champagne. He named it the Flamingo. The mob funded it cautiously. Siegel promised luxury. He promised profit. But reality unraveled. Construction delays, missing funds, rising costs, paranoia. Siegel began cutting out partners, threatening contractors, and isolating himself from oversight. To the mob, it looked like betrayal. To Bugsy, it felt like destiny slipping away. By late 1946, Bugsy Siegel was no longer chasing a dream. He was running from it. The Flamingo was supposed to be his masterpiece, his proof that he was more than a gangster, more than a hired enforcer, more than a violent man with a temper. It was meant to legitimize him, to elevate him above the underworld that created him. Instead, it became a spotlight exposing every flaw he had tried to hide. Construction costs had spiraled wildly out of control. What was initially budgeted at around $1 million had ballooned to more than $6 million, an astronomical figure for the time. Mob financiers in New York and Chicago began asking questions. Where was the money going? Bugsy's answers were vague, defensive, sometimes explosive. He blamed contractors, delays, supply shortages, the desert, anyone but himself. Behind the scenes, rumors spread that Siegel was skimming funds, diverting mob money to support his lavish lifestyle in Beverly Hills. The suits, the jewelry, the Hollywood parties, the women. To the syndicate, this wasn't mismanagement. It was theft, and theft from the mob was a crime that carried only one sentence. On December 26, 1946, the Flamingo finally opened its doors. It was supposed to be a coronation. Instead, it was humiliation. A sudden rainstorm washed out the roads leading to the resort, leaving guests stranded or unwilling to make the trip. Parts of the hotel were unfinished. The casino floor felt empty. The atmosphere lacked energy. Celebrities who were promised glamour quietly slipped away. Gamblers didn't show. Money didn't flow. Within days, the Flamingo was hemorrhaging cash. Bugsy tried to project confidence, but inside, panic was setting in. He paced constantly, snapped at employees, became increasingly paranoid. He began carrying weapons more openly and trusted fewer people. Even his closest allies noticed the change. In New York, the patience of the syndicate was gone. Meyer Lansky, Bugsy's oldest friend, was forced into an impossible position. He understood Bugsy's vision. He admired it. But loyalty had limits, and business came first. The Flamingo represented more than lost money. It represented loss of control. If Bugsy could defy the syndicate and survive, others might try the same. In the weeks leading up to his murder, signs were everywhere. Bugsy was no longer welcome in Las Vegas. Control of the Flamingo was quietly slipping away from him. Mob associates stopped returning his calls. Allies kept their distance. Still, Bugsy refused to run. He believed, perhaps foolishly, that his importance would save him, that his legacy, his connections, his vision for Las Vegas made him untouchable. He was wrong. On June 20th, 1947, Bugsy sat inside a rented Beverly Hills home, reading a newspaper. Outside, the evening was calm. No warning, no confrontation, just a window. A rifle cracked the silence. Bullets tore through the glass. One struck Bugsy in the face. Another shattered his chest. His vision, Las Vegas, ended instantly. He never saw it succeed. That same night, mob operatives moved swiftly. Bugsy's name was removed from the Flamingo. His associates were replaced. Financial controls were tightened. Within weeks, the Flamingo began turning a profit. The dream worked. Just not with him alive. Bugsy Siegel never saw Las Vegas flourish. But the city followed his blueprint. Luxury, illusion, excess. Las Vegas is his ghost. A city built on ambition, crime, and a man who believed he could conquer the desert. This was the man who built Sin City. And this was Bugsy Siegel.